Hello again. We are back here with another game. It's this time Magnus against Hikaru, third round of the Sinkfield Cup in St. Louis in 2013. And this is Magnus' preparations for his World Championship match against Vishy Anand that will happen in a few months. So Magnus is playing white, Hikaru is playing black. And I decided to choose this game because I think both players played quite interesting here. So you see, Hikaru played the King's Indian. It's a very risky opening. So and also here G5 is apparently the recommended move by the computer. So it looks completely wrong to play G5 here, but apparently it's correct. And he plays and the reason is because there is some problems to defend this one apparently. If here, then G4 and you can take on here, and if here you can do like this, and either you trade a knight, you could trade a bishop, or if here then you win this one. So let's see how what Magnus did. He decided to do D5 instead, and we get some kind of trades here. So black didn't take because I guess the knight here and take back there is a bit annoying. So instead he did b5. Let's also get some computer help here. So I think this is quite an interesting opening. It looks very good for black because his dark squared bishop, the dragon bishop or the King's Indian bishop, doesn't have a white rival now, so it's there is potential here for good black play on the dark squares for black, but because the way white king side is with g3, f2 and maybe pawn e3, then these pawns cover some of the dark squares. So at least right now black's dark square initiative is not so dangerous, and as compensation for that, white has that pawn on c6 that in some situations can be a bit of a strength, a bit annoying for black to deal with. So the computer likes white here, so see what how the game develops. And here, interestingly, Magnus does not defend b4 because a3 and then e5, and some initiative here for black maybe. Let's look how that could be. And black has a big center, but apparently tactically it works for white to maybe go here and put pressure and win back a pawn. So instead Magnus sacrifice, of course b7 is before it's not such an important pawn anyway, so it's fine to sack it. And Hikaru finds the correct move here, knight e4, which leads to tactical simplifications here. Magnus took like that. The computer prefers that one. And there will be lots of trades here. Let's look at some line here. With a fairly even game, according to the computer. Or perhaps if it takes at once here, the white take here, and it's also a relatively even endgame here. So instead Magnus took like that, black took, Interestingly, Hikaru gives up his strong bishop on g7, but the computer thinks that's the correct and try to create some pieces. This looks a little bit better, but yeah, it's this kind of a problem here. But there is a tactical solution to that with bishop a6. Bishop a6 covers the rook, so when he takes, he can take, and this rook is defended. So what about this endgame? Apparently best is to take here. And an even endgame. Yeah, maybe it's likely that maybe Hikaru didn't solve the things after e6 and then rook b1, bishop a6. It's quite a complicated line there. So he took there instead, so he do not lose that one. And Magnus took with the rook. Well, he could also have taken with f-queen and played that endgame. It looked quite equal. And knight bishop f5 is a nice move. It develops the bishop with tempo. But of course, white can also take it and do an exchange sacrifice, and that is what Magnus is doing. So he's doing an exchange sacrifice, which the computer thinks is fine. White has only one pawn for the exchange, but it's this one, and the black king is quite much in trouble, especially bishop a4, and then e4 is some kind of a threat sometimes. But yeah, the computer is not so worried because basically black controls all the squares, so he's not so worried about that. So maybe this endgame is probably not so. Yeah, you put the bishop here on b5 and it protects all the weaknesses. So that's probably a draw. So instead Magnus just played here. Hikaru went here, and Magnus defended a4. Yeah, so this is computer thinks this is equal. I would actually prefer to play white here. I think it looks very nice for white with this safe king, like a nice bishop. Like materially black is 1 point ahead, but something like rook here, and here, and it just looks like white has a lot of potential to attack the black king, or maybe also to try to push down some and sometimes maybe rook here and then rook b7 and try to attack, or maybe push down a pawn. So definitely white has all the winning chances, even if the position is equal. So let's see what happened. So it's also nice, Magnus, he played bishop f3, king g2. It's always good to like improve your king in this kind of if you don't know exactly what's the right plan, improving the king's position can never be wrong, because it's never wrong to improve the king's position in such positions. So they are playing around, and now Magnus seems to go for this rook b7 ID here. So black won that pawn on a4 for nothing, but yeah, it's still equal here. Now he took, and that pawn on b7 is quite strong, of course. So it looks like Magnus is quite happy with that draw here. He's just moving the king back and forth, and I kind of doubt Hikaru can do something either. So here here Hikaru offered a draw and they accepted it. I thought it was an interesting game, so it's a little bit short video, but I thought it was an interesting game.